Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keith in the studios of our flagship station, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. You can view Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find the Megacast each and every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Live on Birmingham Area Municipal Access in Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and surrounding areas, as well as on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us on Channel 10 in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford during our live shows, and live to tape at 1 p.m. and 1 a.m. in Lake Orion and Orion Township on Orion Neighborhood Television. You can also join us on the radio locally in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on 88.1, the BIF, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District via the BIF radio network, joining us during our live programming. View us online on social media on Facebook at facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM, as well as on CivicCenterTV.com and MyTV or My Michigan TV by visiting mymytv.com to learn more information about Michigan's free streaming network with content from all across the Great Lakes state by people here in Michigan, all about the state of Michigan, and find out more information as well on mymy.com about where you can download their free smart TV and smartphone apps so you can take My Michigan TV with you anywhere you go. Learn more about all of our partnering TV, radio, and web outlets joining us each and every day on the Megacast by visiting CivicCenterTV.com and clicking on our Megacast link at the top of the page on your computer, as well as in the drop-down menu on the left side of your screen in the margin of the page. If you're viewing us on your smartphone or on other mobile devices as well, that may pull up our mobile page. You can also visit our coronavirus page at CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus for continuously up-to-date information about the COVID-19 pandemic from our friends at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. This is your starting place. If you need to gather information about COVID-19, about the Omicron variant, about the Delta variant, both of which are still playing a key role in the spread of COVID-19 here in Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan, these are good places to start. Also great places to start for resources on where you can get vaccinated. If you are in need of a COVID-19 vaccine, if you are in need of a booster shot, or you're just interested or curious about either of them, and you're making your decision one way or the other, you want to get that information from sources that have experts, that have been studying this kind of information their entire career, that are familiar with the spread of coronaviruses, as well, and such as SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19, as well as get that information from that is pointing you to other sources as well outside of the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, from other health institutes and experts on the front lines who have been researching COVID-19 since the very beginning of its spread worldwide, as well as throughout the pandemic. You want to start at these resources, so we direct you straight to the COVID-19 specific web pages of the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, so you can stay up to date both locally, statewide, and federally from many different resources. In addition, on a coronavirus page, many links to Oakland County municipalities and their specific COVID-19 web pages, so you can stay up to date on how COVID-19 is affecting city business in your hometown, whether that be in West Bloomfield, in Birmingham, in Bloomfield Hills, in Troy, or anywhere else in Oakland County. It's going to differ. There'll be a lot of similarities in how COVID-19 is affecting municipal business from one place to another, but there also are going to be some key differences that if you're going from one city to another, if you work in one city and you live in another, there could be different regulations in place, there could be different operations in place to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, and you want to be able to stay up to date, so we give you those direct sources so you can go straight to these municipalities' websites, right to their COVID-19 pages, which will give you the information that you're looking for, so you're not taking that extra time looking around in a million different places on these websites, some of which can be very tough to navigate to that important information. CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus, your direct source for all of that. In addition, each and every day we scour journalistic outlets from throughout the state of Michigan and all different regions of the Great Lakes state to keep you up to date on everything you need to know on COVID-19 and other stories that are affecting all Michiganders. And of course, COVID-19, the big story of all of those continuing to be at the top of our headlines as we go to our friends at Bridge Michigan Magazine for their coronavirus tracker, as the Michigan House will not vote this week because of the continued widespread COVID-19 cases and exposure to the virus among staffers and lawmakers, says House Speaker Jason Wentworth, a Republican from Farwell, announcing that on Monday. In a statement, House Speaker Wentworth said House committees will still meet at the discretion of the chairpeople. The legislature is due back this week from its holiday break. Quote, "Nobody wants to see COVID get in the way of normal business and delay work on issues that are important to Michigan families. However, we have nothing on the agenda this week that must be done immediately, and the votes can be rescheduled for next week," end closed quote. Last week, Michigan saw the highest daily counts of COVID-19 cases in a week, with 18,557 new cases per day. Since the Omicron variant was detected in the state, the daily count has more than doubled. Wentworth said the House will follow, quote, "the most updated recommendations," end closed quote, moving forward. A spokesperson for the Senate Majority Leader told Bridge Michigan the Senate plans to be in session and to vote as scheduled. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, meanwhile, did not release its regular COVID case counts and hospitalization updates due to the Martin Luther King Jr. Day holiday, which fell on a Monday this year. That full article from Bridge, Michigan on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Also making news over the weekend and continuing to make news early on this week from the Detroit Free Press, the University of Michigan continues investigating whether former President Mark Schlissel misused university funds in support of his inappropriate relationship with a subordinate. The University of Michigan is investigating whether their former president misused funds in support of his relationship with a female employee. Two sources with knowledge of the investigation told the Detroit Free Press on Sunday night. The look into how money was spent is part of an ongoing review of Schlissel and his conduct, first prompted by an anonymous tip that reached the Board of Regents in December. The school board fired Schlissel on Saturday night for violating the university's supervisor relationship policy. It was unclear what funds the investigators might be examining. The sources requested an anonymity because of the ongoing investigation. New York law firm Jenner & Block is continuing the investigation. U of M spokesperson Rick Fitzgerald confirmed to the Detroit Free Press. He did not, however, answer questions about the scope of that work. Former President Schlissel has been unable to be reached for comment by the Free Press. His salary was at $927,000 per year from the university. The university posted its contract with the law firm on its website on Sunday. It was signed on December 23rd, although the university began working with the law firm as soon as the university received a tip that Schlissel was involved with a female university employee, which came into them on December 8th. Quote, "After an investigation, we learned that Dr. Schlissel, over a period of years, used his university email account to communicate with a subordinate in a manner inconsistent with the dignity and reputation of the university," end closed quote, the board said in an announcement of Schlissel's firing over the weekend. The law firm charges the university per hour. The firm's standard rate was $1,100 per hour in 2021 and $1,250 in 2022, but it's giving a 15% discount to the school. No timetable has been given for wrapping up this investigation. According to emails posted by the university on Saturday night in a stated spirit of transparency, Schlissel wrote to the female employee regularly and in familiar tones, including in October 2019 when he emailed about receiving a box of knishes. The woman said in reply that she liked, quote, the doughy snack food. Schlissel replied again saying, quote, can I, quote, lure you to visit with the promise of a knish, end closed quote. Wow. The decision to fire him was made behind closed doors on Saturday morning without a public vote. It was effective immediately. Of course, he was planning to retire later on this year, and it is unclear whether or not he will continue to get the retirement package that he was planned to receive upon that retirement earlier, now with his termination being with cause. We'll keep you updated on that. That full article as well as supporting materials from the Detroit Free Press on civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Lastly, making headlines today via the Detroit News from Bloomberg News. Airlines are urging U.S. regulators to delay 5G wireless rollout. A trade association representing major U.S. airlines asked the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, and the nation's top communications and aviation regulators to prevent wireless carriers from implementing 5G services close to airports. Airlines for America warned in a letter on Monday that the traveling and shipping public could see, quote, catastrophic disruptions, end closed quote, if the new C-band frequencies were put into service within 2 miles of where aircraft fly. The association said it was willing to work with the government and carriers to find a mutually agreeable solution. Wireless carriers include AT&T Incorporated and Verizon Communications Incorporated reached an agreement with federal regulators earlier this month to launch the new service on January 19th. Airlines are worried that signals could interfere with instruments that measure an aircraft's altitude. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, granted approval Sunday that will allow some jetliners to operate within zones where new 5G wireless services are being used, significantly reducing the potential impact on flight schedules. The decision permits landings during low visibility at as many as 48 of 88 U.S. airports with equipment for such arrivals, the FAA had said in a statement. Two congressmen, Peter DeFazio, chair of the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, and Rick Larson, chair of the Subcommittee on Aviation, also on Monday urged regulators to delay the implementation of 5G systems. Quote, we must provide the FAA and aviation industry with more time to thoroughly assess the risks of deployment in order to avoid potentially disastrous disruptions to our national airspace system, end closed quote, the two Democrats wrote in a letter. Reuters reported earlier on Monday on the letter from Airlines for America, which represents carriers including American Airlines Group Incorporated, United Airlines Holdings Incorporated, as well as cargo operators such as FedEx Corp. That full article from the Detroit News with the original writing from Bloomberg News, posted on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as technology continuing to advance, but also causing a little bit of wrinkles here and there with our regular systems, as different sectors of business and commerce and, of course, government need to be working together to find solutions to implement these new technologies in a way that is safe and is best practice. You can read all those articles on our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where you can also, again, very important, find those direct links to COVID-19 web pages from the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great Tuesday edition of the Megacast ahead for you. Coming up next, I'll be speaking with the founder and CEO of Live Coal Gallery, Yvette Rock, will join me at 10:20. At 10:40, Omar Brown-El, the Senior Director of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives at Oakland University and the organizer of the Keeper of the Dream event, Tanaya Harris is her name. Tanaya Harris from Oakland University will join me on the program. At 11 o'clock, Bill Haney, the book guy, will join me on the Megacast. 11:20, we'll be joined by the Media Network of Waterford's Jeff Decker, who is the host of In Town with Jeff Decker that you can watch over there on the Media Network of Waterford on Channel 10. And then at 11:40, Rachel Vartanian, the executive director and founder of Living and Learning Enrichment Center, a Share Detroit charity, will join me to cap off the show at 11:40. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about the show as well as everywhere that we broadcast live to tape, and on demand by visiting civiccentertv.com and clicking on our Megacast link. Our first guest today is Yvette Rock, the founder and CEO of Live Cold Gallery, LLC, whose mission is to transform lives and neighborhoods through art, community development, and education. Yvette, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So let's begin by talking a little bit about your background. You were born in South America. Talk about your life's journey and how your journey from South America to the Detroit area helped to inform your founding of the Live Cold Gallery.
Sure. Well, it's been a long quest. I was born in Paramaribo, Suriname, South America, and we came to America when I was 7.5, 8 years old, and I really had a strong foundation in my early years. Actually, as an artist, I was interested in making art from a very young age. So all through my early years and up through college, I attended art school in New York City called Cooper Union. And then I attended graduate school at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And it was through my connection at U of M that I ended up coming to the city of Detroit in 1999. And from then, I worked in the different schools, teaching art as an artist in residence with Inside Out Literary Arts Project. And then in 2000, fast forward to 2012, where I founded Live Cold Gallery. Just my heart was really for finding a way to connect young artists with emerging artists and established artists, and having that context where artists of all ages and stages of life can connect.
And I find when speaking to artists in many different forms of art and in media, that collaboration can be so important, especially to young artists and developing artists, in finding their style and finding their process, and even in creating excellent art that people will enjoy. And so for you, who are some of your early inspirations, either people that you worked with in art while you were in school or while you were learning or early on in your career, or other inspirations, just artists that you admired that helped you to form your style of art and your approach to the arts?
Yeah, so, in tandem with having this community arts business, I am a practicing artist. And like I said, I've been that for all my life, really. I like to give a lot of honor to my first art teacher, Miss McKinney, and that's a way for me to uplift elementary teachers and early, teachers, education teachers, that what they're doing is so important and can really have a lifelong impact on their students. So all of my art teachers, honestly, elementary, middle school, and high school, I went to art schools, Mr. Wybroba, I just, Bob, our teacher. So a lot of them is Teresa. As you can see, I'm in my mid 40s, and I remember my elementary, middle school, and high school art teachers because they had a profound impact on me as an individual. And so those teachers I honor first, and then certainly through college really was challenged. And I think that's another thing with young people that I like to encourage is to really challenge themselves and find those people who will challenge them in their art form and figure out ways to work with professional artists. So I myself have had an opportunity to work with a lot of local artists and professional artists. My friends here and my peers, they inspire and encourage me, like my friend Safel, who's a local artist, is always like, the art is not gonna make itself. You have to show up in your studio to make your work. And so I try to stay faithful and just come to my studio and be present to the art process. And so that's my way of also encouraging young artists that, just be present in your studio and the work will come.
We're joined by Yvette Rock, the founder and CEO of Live Cold Gallery on the Megacast. So let's talk a little bit about Live Cold Gallery. Now that we've got some background on your history with art, let's talk about the gallery itself. How did it begin, and what was always your vision for this particular gallery?
Yeah, so the gallery began actually in my home in Woodbridge, a multi-family dwelling, and we converted the first floor to an art gallery and art space that the community could come in. And my vision very early on was always to, as I mentioned, find a way to connect aspiring, emerging, and established artists. So imagine an artist, a young artist who's never had a show, never had an exhibition really, put together with an artist who's maybe been showing work for 40, 50 years and who has that following, who has that clientele. And what happens when you put those two artists in the same exhibition? Well, that's wonderful for the young artists, right? Because all of a sudden they have an audience for their work. And so part of my vision is like kind of being a bridge, helping others, helping young artists connect with established artists, and at the same time encouraging those established artists to be mentors and inspire young artists in this world of gallery exhibition and so forth, which sometimes can be very challenging to find your way into the art world. So serving as a bridge is very important to me. And then finding ways to connect with my community on all levels is very important to me.
And so, Yvette, your business, Live Cold Gallery, has four main initiatives, and those initiatives being Live Cold Arts Mobile, the Live Cold Collective, The Red, and Detroit Repatched. Let's begin with Live Cold Arts Mobile. Can you tell us about that and how that benefits artists in our local area?
Sure. So the Live Cold Arts Mobile is an 18-foot or so car hauler that I designed and converted with, of course, the help of the company who designed the trailer to turn that into a very interactive artsmobile. And we do workshops in it, we do exhibitions in it, and we have a creative play space in it, depending on what we're doing. And we take the artsmobile to different blocks or events around the city. That's the artsmobile.
And then so the Live Cold Collective, also a critical part of these four initiatives of your business. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, so the Live Cold Collective is an annually selected group of artists and creatives and makers that I work with to help fulfill our mission. So these can be writers, they can be photographers, filmmakers, obviously visual artists, ranging from sculptors to painters, printmakers. So just finding ways to gather creatives and makers to come alongside the work we're doing, and artists who are willing to share their work with the community.
And lastly, of course, we have the Red and Detroit Repatch. Can you tell us about those two initiatives as well? So those are also critical parts of these four initiatives of the Live Cold Gallery.
Yes, thank you. So the Red, I founded in 2018, and that is our children's art museum. So I have for many years been collecting artwork made by young people And so the Red became an opportunity for me to showcase the artwork made by our young people. So work ranging from kindergartens, pre-K all the way through seniors in high school. And so the Red is a way for me to exhibit their work and also to have ongoing workshops and exhibitions featuring the work of our youth. And then Detroit Repatch, which is a 2021 Night Arts Challenge winning project, is the work that we are doing in Brightmoor, which is a neighborhood in Detroit. And that is a arts-infused green space and art hub.
And so with all these initiatives, of course, communication and opportunities, connection, is something that's so critical to these initiatives of yours, especially today, particularly in digital media, but really across all forms of art. Because of the different methods that we all have to communicate with each other and communicate not just locally in our communities, but broadly around the country, around the world, fragmentation can make for so many more opportunities, but also make those opportunities on a wider scale kind of sparse or scarce at least, because there's so much opportunity for so many different people that are all chasing these dreams. So how does that communication and that connection and that experience that you are providing for these younger artists in connection with artists that are more experienced, especially today, how is that having an impact on these artists present and future?
So basically, how are we communicating with our young artists?
Yeah, well, how are your initiatives positively benefiting these artists, and what have been some of the results of these relationships that you've helped foster?
Right, yeah. So, one example I'll give is we had a recent exhibition of a 10-year-old's work. Her name is Karis Gaston, a beautiful young lady. And she started coming to our workshops and our open studios on Fridays years ago when before the pandemic and when we were much more open to the public. But she started coming, and you just see her interest in the work. And over the years, I realized this young lady is serious about art. And so how do we go from somebody being serious about art to then bringing them to the next level and then connecting them with other artists and so forth? And how do we cross those boundaries? And so it's been beautiful to see her go from this interest phase to then this past year have her own solo exhibition where she had about 20 works of art at the Red and sold all her paintings but one. And at that event, we're professional artists, media and so forth. And we were just so thankful to see we can take one art, and that's just one artist, right? So what can we do if we, as an organization, really start to spread the word that Live Coal is here to represent young people and connect them to other artists. And, it's one of our weaknesses, to be honest. We really need to bolster our communication. We need to let others know. And so I'm so thankful for this opportunity to share who we are with the wider audience here.
We're joined by Yvette Rock, the founder and the CEO of the Live Coal Gallery, joining us on the Megacast. And so you recently wrapped up a fundraiser called the Aired Out Quilts exhibition. Can you tell us how that exhibition went, and then maybe some other events that may be coming up through your gallery in the future?
Sure. So Aired Out Quilts is very exciting, and this is also a Night Arts Challenge winning project, and it's also supported by the Max Marjorie Fisher Foundation. And this project, we had 9 residents, 8 Detroit residents and 1 Highland Park resident, who shared their personal story with our team, our Aired Out Quilts team. And these stories were then translated into quilts, which are 2 quilters, April Shipp and Patricia Millender, created these beautiful quilts. And we recently had the exhibition at the Red, which is located in Andy Arts. And we featured all these beautiful quilts. And prior to that, we featured the quilts at the homes of the interviewees. And so this is really one way we wanted to get people out there, navigate the streets of the city, and look at these art pieces. So the quilts were hanging at the homes of these interviewees and then featured in this gallery setting. So the Aired Out Quilts project is coming to one closure, because we just had the exhibition, and we're gearing up for the next phase, which is the printing and creating of a special book of the Air Dot Quilts project, and then also a film documentary, which is being done by T-Bob Media. So we're very excited that hopefully in the spring, early summer, we will be debuting the documentary film and the book.
We're joined by Yvette Rock, the owner of Live Coal Gallery, the founder and the CEO of Live Coal Gallery, joining us on the Megacast in just a few more minutes with you. So for those artists in the local area that may be interested in some of the relationships that you are able to help form, or may be interested in being part of Live Coal Gallery, and even for those that may be interested in being mentors for some of these young artists, how can they get connected with your organization?
Yes, thank you. You can visit our website, which is www.livecoalgallery.com. And our children's website is www.theredmuseum.org. And certainly you can email us at info@livecoalgallery.com.
Yvette, we thank you very much for joining us on today's show, telling us about Live Coal Gallery and some of the initiatives that go along with it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions or you want to get involved, send an email to info@livecoalgallery.com. You can also visit their websites for Live Coal Gallery at livecoalgallery.com, as well as their kids' website as well, theredmuseum.org. That is theredmuseum.org and livecoalgallery.com for more information. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be joined by a couple of people from Oakland University. Omar Brown-El, the Senior Director of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, as well as the organizer and the Keeper of the Dream Dream event, Tanaya Harris, who is also a OU social work major as well, and the Keeper of the Dream scholarship recipient, will also join us. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
a rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about our show, including everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape, and find us on demand at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link. Joining us now from Oakland University, we're pleased to be joined by Tanaya Harris and Omar Brown-El, both from the university's Keeper of the Dream event. Let's begin with Omar. Omar, thank you for being with us. He's the organizer of the Keeper of the Dream event, also the senior director of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives at Oakland University. Omar, thank you for being with us. And to start off, yesterday, Monday, marked the 30th Keeper of the Dream event honoring the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the university. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of that event at the university as well as yesterday's festivities?
Yes, good morning. And thank you for having us on today. We're still riding the wave from yesterday's event. We had a tremendous celebration, our 30th year of Keeper of the Dream here at Oakland University. This is an opportunity, has a long history of us celebrating and recognizing Oakland University students who not only excel academically, but more importantly, who stress the importance of cultural and ethnic building relationships so that our students and campus community understand the value of unity and the value of coming together as one community. So we've been doing this since 1993, the opportunity to share on MLK Day, to recognize our students, and then to also spread the message of unity here at Oakland.
And we're also joined by Tanaya Harris. Tanaya was the recipient of the 2022 Keeper of the Dream Scholarship, and she's also a Oakland University social work major as well. Tanaya, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to Oakland University.
Well, what brought me to Oakland University is I resided close to Oakland University. And as you mentioned, I am a social work major. And in regards to my aspiring career in social work, I am aware of the many social issues among us, such as racism, homelessness, etc. And as a social work major, I would like to advocate and assist those in need, as well as get to the root of these issues and attempts to change and or dismantle them.
And so tonight, of course, you're the recipient of the 2022 Keeper of the Dream Scholarship, in part because of the strides and efforts that you are making as a social work major and as an advocate for people throughout the community. What are some of those strides and efforts that you have made on campus and in the local area as well to help at least begin to solve or resolve some of those issues that are close to your heart?
Okay, well, so I serve on the e-board of the Association of Black Students on campus. And with this organization, we push to ensure that people of color have a voice on campus, as well as programs and events to assist in their development and or provide them with opportunities to form connections with other individuals, whether it be students or professionals.
And then, so Omar, can you talk a little bit about Tanaya and what led to her being one of this year's scholarship winners? Because, of course, the Keeper of the Dream Scholarship is going to students that are outstanding in the Oakland University community for reasons that fit within, of course, Dr. King's dream and all of Dr. King's messages and all of his work on critical social issues that we continue to be working through in today's society.
Certainly. So Tanaya is one of our exceptional leaders here at Oakland University for many reasons. She's involved with multiple student organizations. She already mentioned she is the vice president of the Association of Black Students. She's also involved with Feminists of OU. She volunteers at our Grizzly Food Pantry, helping distribute food and supplies to those who are in need. She is very connected and stands out as a student leader here on our campus and has been doing so for the last couple of years. I believe Tanaya is in her 3rd year, if not her 4th year. And since her time here at the university, she has always sought ways to get involved, always sought out opportunities to address where there may be injustices here or in the larger community. So she maintains that vocal presence. As a student, we're very proud of her achievements, and we know that she's going to continue that post-graduation from the university, that as a social work major, she will continue to push for change in the community.
And then, Tanaya, you've been quoted as saying, quote, "I believe it is important to understand and connect with people of a different race in order to stray away from intentionally or unintentionally denigrating them, their culture, beliefs, or how they identify with their race. This could eliminate many external and internal conflicts. If we aren't attempting to learn about others' race, why would they attempt to learn about ours?" To talk about that outlook and how important it is to take on that outlook in today's society, especially with the conflicts that we have seen erupt into larger conflicts in recent times, with some of the race relations that are continuing to be critical issues here in the U.S. and certainly are having an impact on many of those issues that you find near and dear to your heart and that you want to be solving, such as homelessness and such as racism in our communities.
Well, for one, I would like to point out that there is a lot of cultural appropriation that we witnessed throughout the years. And with that being said, I feel like if we take the initiative to learn about other races outside of our own, no matter if you're white, black, Asian, whatever the case may be, then we could stop a lot of those issues and we could stop a lot of the conflict that occurs in today's society.
Yeah, because there is a fine line and there's a distinct difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. And in order to understand that difference is to show a certain respect for people that are having different experiences than you. What are some of the ways that you suggest or that you are even initiating on campus and in your life to help bridge those gaps? Because for some people that may not be focusing on making those changes or making an effort to learn about people that are different from them, they may not see those opportunities that are out there, or they may not understand the best way to go about them.
Right. My thing is to just educate them anyway, because I'm pretty sure like people are either scared to ask or, like you said, they don't want to learn. So I say educate them anyway. Like, for example, say, okay, it's Halloween, because that's when most cultural appropriation times happen. Getting ready for a party or whatever, it's okay to step back and, like, say you have like a friend outside of your race. It's okay to step back and say, hey, I don't think that costume would be, fitting for the event. And you could tell them why. And, they may have like some comebacks for it, but, it's okay to, let them know, basically, is what I'm saying. So educate them beforehand, whether they ask or not.
And Tanaya, of course, you've mentioned multiple times, as has Omar, that you're involved with the Association of Black Students at Oakland University. For those that may be interested in joining the association and may be interested in joining your organization and some of the work that it does around campus and the conversations that it has, what are some of the different roles that this organization plays on campus, and how can people get involved?
People can get involved easily. On Grizzlers, if you press join, it'll automatically send them an email, and then we'll add you to the GroupMe, because we have a GroupMe account where we communicate to the student body, people who are not a part of the e-board, of course. That's where we come up with ideas to come up with new events and programs that we should have on campus, because it's a outlet for the students.
We're joined by Tanaya Harris, who is one of the recipients of the 2022 Keeper of the Dream Scholarship through Oakland University, as well as Omar Brown-El, who is the senior director of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives at Oakland University. And so, Omar, the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, it does a wide range of things for students at Oakland University and holds a number of different, of course, initiatives across the campus. Can you tell us a little bit about the CMI and some of the initiatives that are ongoing and are coming up in the future over at Oakland University?
So the purpose of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives is to provide support and services for all Oakland University students, but particularly for underrepresented students in the terms of retention and diversity initiatives. And so we have a program here that runs out of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, the scholarship program, which is nationally recognized for outcomes related to graduation, retention, grade point average. And that's an ongoing scholarship program that we've run for the past 25 years. With the highest achieving students here at the university participate in that program. And so that gives us an opportunity for academic excellence. Other ways that we engage the students and student body is to provide support services in terms of mentoring, financial support where students can secure book loans and other means so that they can maintain their academic presence here at the university. And then there are opportunities for students to engage through diversity initiatives by participating in many of our diversity programs. We have celebration months here at the university that's spearheaded through the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, diversity training, and other programs. Those are opportunities for not only our students, but our faculty and staff to get engaged and find ways to champion diversity here on our campus.
And given where we're at this present time in our society, do you believe that these different events and these different programs, particularly at places like Oakland University and at universities, at places of education, as we're bringing young people into our workforce, into greater society, into leadership roles, that they're learning these different lessons on campus, and that they have opportunities to have those important conversations and to get a look into different cultures and different communities that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, given what we're experiencing in the outside world off campus and around the state of Michigan and around the U.S. and the world at this time?
Yeah, I think it's important for individuals to recognize that this is an ongoing process. There is not a space where you get to and, you certified as a diversity person or someone who understands all things about all cultures. It's really a humbling experience to go in and say, I don't know. And it's okay to ask questions, to be more informed. But that starts with the heart. That has to be a person who is open to understanding multiple things, just beyond themselves. And I think that makes us a better person, a better human being when we go in informing of ourselves of our own ignorance. And that opens the door for new possibilities when we go in looking to learn and seeking to understand. So when we provide these support services and opportunities, not only for our students, but faculty and staff, it really allows the person to begin a journey or continue a journey, knowing that this is something that, they should be pursuing, for the duration of their life, that, we don't get to a point, regardless of age, where you stop learning, and diversity is one of those things which one has to be open to that type of learning, that type of engagement. And when ones are not, we simply leave the information there, and when it's appropriate, in every season, it's different for a person. What might apply to someone on one day, it might take another person 10 years, for their preparation to be made to receive a message. And so, our goal is just to share information and, allow folks to, take that as they will and learn and grow from there.
Omar, Tanaya, appreciate both of your time. I want to give both of you an opportunity with a few more minutes, about 5 minutes or so left with both of you today. Let's start with you, Tanaya. Anything else that we haven't discussed today that you would like to speak about, or anything else you'd like to say at this time?
I would just like to speak about the KOD program for myself. Sure. The Keeper of the Dream is a great way to highlight, as Mr. Brown-El said, it's a great way to highlight and show a form of gratitude to the individuals who share similar goals as Dr. King. These individuals, like myself, are willing to further continue to push the vision by promoting racial and cultural understanding, as well as committing to many other actions that contribute to social justice. The Keeper of the Dream award is a very honorable trophy to have. In all honesty, I am grateful for it and all its perks.
And Omar, anything else that you'd like to discuss today, or any other information about the CMI that you'd like to talk about today?
The opportunity, we take that from today in this interview to say thank you for having us. And I would like to just highlight Tanaya in terms of her receiving the award. She maintains a level of excellence here at the university, and I'm so very proud of all of the accomplishments of all of the recipients. And Oakland University and the Center for Multicultural Initiatives are champions for diversity. And we will continue to push the envelope to make sure that all are included and all are accepted here in the Multicultural Office as well as the university.
Omar, Tanaya, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. We've been joined by the Senior Director of the Center for Multicultural Initiatives at Oakland University, Omar Brown-El, as well as one of the recipients of the 2022 Keeper of the Dream Scholarship, Tanaya Harris, on the Megacast. If you'd like to learn more information about the Center for Multicultural Initiatives, all of their programs, including diversity training, their core values, other news and information, as well as how you can get involved, please go to their website at oakland.edu/CMI. That is oakland.edu/CMI. We're going to take a break here on your radio homes for the Megacast 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. On the other side, we'll begin our second hour of the show. Coming up next with the book guy, Bill Haney, who will be joining us talking about all the books that he's been publishing since 1986. And then at 11:20, we'll be joined by Jeff Decker from the Media Network of Waterford. That's all coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is the source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more about everywhere that we broadcast across the state of Michigan and find all of our shows and each individual interview on demand by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now is the book guy, Bill Haney. He has been publishing books since 1986 and has been either an author, co-author, ghostwriter, editor, publisher, or consultant on more than 400 books, including those written by people such as Ernie Harwell, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, and more. And he is also the host of Conversations with Bill on Clarkston's Independence Television. Bill, thank you for being with us.
Nice to be here.
Appreciate having you on. So let's begin with your publishing career. It began in 1986, and as I said in your intro, over 400 different publications so far in your career. How did your journey into publishing begin?
Well, actually, it started in 1966 when I went on to the University of Michigan Institute for Social Research with a faculty appointment. And a charge to do a better job than they'd been doing in getting out the word on their research findings at the Institute. The Survey Research Center and the other units produce a lot of very important material, and it did not get to the general public. And so we started, I launched, founded a program there, and the first book that we did was 1967. So I actually did probably 100 or so books there, and then went to the University of Michigan Press as the associate director and managing editor, and published a wider range of books, not just social science, but other sciences, and books of interest to people in the state of Michigan.
And so, as was also mentioned, you've written or been involved in the writing process in books with a lot of very notable people, such as Ernie Harwell, who was, of course, a legendary Detroit Tigers play-by-play broadcaster on the radio. You talk about writing his book, Tuned to Baseball, along with him, and how that relationship came to be.
Sure. I was a Tiger fan since the 1940s, actually, and followed them very, very closely through the previous announcers, names that people probably don't even know, Harry Heilman and Mel Ott, and a number of other announcers before Ernie came in '61. A great year for the Tigers. Norman Cash batted .361 that year. And the Tigers almost won the pennant. The Yankees did when Maris hit 61 home runs. So 61 was a big year.
Yeah.
And Ernie and I communicated quite a bit before I ever met him. And he asked me to be on his pregame show. I did a thing called the Detroit Tiger Fans Calendar, which kind of looks like that.
Okay.
And Ernie liked it and invited me to come on. We did an interview on the runway of going in Tiger Stadium, Briggs Stadium it was then.
Yeah.
And Ernie said, well, come on up and sit with me in the broadcast booth and let's have a cup of coffee and talk about books. Ernie was a voracious reader because he traveled a lot, and he would always have books with him to read on the plane and in the hotel when he had nothing else to do. And so we talked about books, and I said to Ernie that I thought he should do a book. And Ernie said, well, who's interested in my little stories? 20 seconds between pitches. And I said, well, a lot of people would be. And if you pass from this life without doing a book, it would be a great loss. And so Ernie that night mentioned this to Ms. Lulu. And she said, well, you listen to that, Mr. Haney, and you're going to do a book. And so Ernie then called me, asked me to come down to the ballpark again the next day, and we would talk further, and we did. He said, now what do I do? I'm no writer. Actually, Ernie was a very good writer, but his brother, one of his brothers had been a prominent writer, and so Ernie felt like he's the writer, I'm the voice. Anyhow, I told Ernie, I said, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to do it. And I said, you will work on the book, and then we'll get it out next spring. So he did. And that fall, we polished it up. I told him, I outlined it, what chapters we might want to consider, characters of the game, and the umpires that he was fond of, and a lot of interesting stories. And I tried to get a publisher in New York to do it so that they would sell even more, but they said, no, it'll only sell 3,500 copies. We need 10,000. So I co-published the book with Diamond Communications in South Bend. They did a great job. We called it Tuned to Baseball. That was Ernie's title all along. And very often authors come up with dopey titles, but that was a good one. And so we had sold 7,700 copies before we even went on press. Ended up selling, I think, 27,000 in hardcover and 100,000 in paper. So much for the brilliance of New York book publishers. And Ernie then got to meet a lot of his fans, and that's one of the reasons I did the book, so Ernie could meet them in person. And he set the state record by far, signing 595 books when we launched it. That was in Okemos. And nobody's come near that. That's an incredible launch. And it just went that way from then on. So, and I ended up doing several more books with Ernie after that. And so it was fun, it was enjoyable, it was important, good for Ernie, good for the people of the state of Michigan.
And what was interesting, Bill, too, that you had said was Ernie's apprehension initially to writing a book about his experiences and about baseball because of his brother's writing ability. And as you said, he felt like he was the voice and his brother was the writer. But that's what makes your relationship with him so interesting. And so many other people and their relationship with their co-writers and their co-authors or ghostwriters so interesting is often you have these people that are great storytellers, like Ernie Harwell. To be a play-by-play announcer, you have to inherently be an excellent storyteller, but may not be able to necessarily put those to words in a written form. And then that relationship that they have with people that are formally writers, such as yourself, how does that help in the process to get these great storytellers that have a story to be told, that have something compelling and interesting to present to other people, and that relationship with their writers to ultimately get that information, get those stories into a written form that is compelling and engaging for readers?
You're right. That's exactly the big question. Many people and a lot of good reporters have great stories, but don't have, in fact, newspaper people have that problem more often than not because they're used to writing against deadline, writing a small amount of copy, filing it right away, and doing a book. And many of them have tried and not been able to do it, to even create the book, let alone make it work. There are good examples of other kinds. Lynn Haney, for example, did a number of books with him on Michigan State. He was a fine writer and did a great job on books. But then I had my friend Tom Hemingway, who was the voice at the University of Michigan. To your point about a man who was a voice and could communicate, but could he write? And Tom was very candid. Most of the books I've done have been my ideas that I just thought made sense. Who should do this book? And that's mostly the way that they came about. And so I approached Tom Hemingway, same way. I knew he had a lot of stories. And Tom was apprehensive, even though his name was Hemingway. He didn't feel like he was a writer. And so we teamed up on it. And we did this book, Life Among the Wolverines, an inside view of U of M sports by Hemingway with Bill Haney. And by the time we got a third of the way, maybe by halfway through the book, Tom felt much more comfortable. By the time we got to the end of it, he was fine. And he, as I thought he would be, was a fine writer. He just didn't know it. And that happens. It happened with J.P. McCarthy. We never did get that book done because Joe felt that it was painful for him to write. He knew he was a good writer, and he was, but it tortured him. And so he procrastinated, and a book that should have been done and could have been done wasn't done. And Joe would have been good because he indeed, the stuff that he did write to show me was excellent. But he knew that it was likely he would procrastinate himself out of it, and that's exactly what happened.
Another interesting figure in especially Detroit history and Michigan history, and even in U.S. history that you wrote alongside with was Dr. Jack Kevorkian, who is, of course, known as Dr. Death. Talk about your relationship with Dr. Kevorkian and your role in helping him tell some of his stories as well, especially being that in his case, instead of being a renowned and beloved figure such as Ernie Harwell and some of the other people that you've written with, he was more of a controversial figure.
Very much. And Jack was a very complicated person. Yeah. I liked Jack a lot. He was a nice guy. Very different than the public image of him in many ways. But that came about because a very fine writer, Mike Betzold, was covering the Detroit Tigers and had written a manuscript that he brought to me and wanted to publish called Queen of Diamonds, the history of the Detroit Stadium, Brick Stadium, Tiger Stadium. And I had a lot of other books going then and told him I'd buy the book, but I really couldn't take it on as a publisher at that time and do the good job by it. He ended up doing the book later. But I said, if you're interested in doing the other story that you're covering, that's important because I want to do a definitive book on assisted suicide. So it will raise people's awareness on either side of the issue. And so I said, if you want to do that. And Mike resisted. But then he called me 3 or 4 weeks later and said, well, the situation's changed. I said, why? And he said, well, Jack just did another assist. And it was my cousin. And so he really got into the story. He had covered the first few assists. And so we did a book called properly Appointment with Dr. Death. And it did what we wanted. It raised the issue greatly. Al Pacino made a film based on this book called What You Don't Know, Jack. Yeah. BBC did a terrific documentary, again, drawn heavily from this book. And so this book triggered and contributed greatly to elevating the discussion of assisted suicide in this country.
We're joined by Bill Haney, the book guy on the Megacast. You can also view his show, Conversations with Bill, on Independence Community Television out of Clarkston. And you can learn more information about that by searching Independence Television of Clarkston on YouTube to watch all of his shows. And so you talked about your book projects with many prominent figures and other projects that you've worked on across your long career in publishing and in writing. What are those projects that bring you the most joy? And what were some of those projects that you worked on that were the most challenging in your career?
Well, there were quite a few in each category. I did one of the books I wrote, and I've written a number of books, and Ghost wrote many more, and then published far more than that, and also consulted to help get the publication of some other very worthy books. But I think probably this book, which is the Michigan Figures Who Made a Difference, called it What They Were Thinking, Reflections on Michigan Difference Makers. And a number of the people we just mentioned, but also our great fiction writer, crime fiction writer, Omar Leonard, who was a good friend, Sue Marks, our winner of the Academy Award for her wonderful documentary, Young at Heart, and then a number of athletes, and Joe Dumars, Charlie Gehringer, the greatest second baseman in baseball history, and Denise Illich, Tom Wilson of the Pistons, Ed Cole, our car guy, who was the creator of the Corvette, the Corvair, and the catalytic converter, very important. And so I did this book to get inside the heads of these folks with stories I knew that were not known by others, and I thought gave insights into these people. It's not a kiss and tell book at all. It gives people a different view, and often a confirming view of what they thought. For example, Ernie Harwell. Ernie Harwell is exactly what you would think Ernie Harwell was. Other people were not so well known, Kevorkian being one. Kevorkian was a brilliant artist, played the harpsichord, did a lot of other things, cared, frankly, a lot about people. And the folks that were the relatives and friends of the people that he assisted in suicide loved him because he helped remove their pain and indignity of somebody they loved. So, yeah, that was an interesting book. Jennifer Granholm, our governor at the time, and now the Secretary of Energy. But it was a useful book, and it seemed to help people understand better these folks.
Well, Bill, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. I want to give you a chance to talk about your show on Independence Television in Clarkston called Conversations with Bill. Can you tell us a little bit about that show and some of the interesting people that you've had conversations with on your program?
Yeah, it's a very good title because it wasn't mine. It was the director and producer that just said, "What are we going to call this thing?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. It's not an interview show. It's just conversation." So that's what it was, Conversation with Bill. And I had one of the early ones was Alyssa Slotkin, who was then a
Bill, it appears that we have lost your audio there. I just want to see if potentially...
Is it back now?
There you go. Yes.
I don't know what happened. Anyhow, Representative Slotkin, who has become, frankly, one of the most effective and hardworking representatives in the Congress. We had Alyssa on early, but then a number of other people who are prominent in preserving and protecting our natural spaces and our environment. And those have been very popular shows. And then these people get to take the video that we do that is shown throughout North Oakland County in the Clarkson area, Independence Township, and then use it to help get their messages out, which is really one of the reasons why I do it. So we've had a roster, 20 or so over the last 4 or 5 years, of really fascinating people. I had Andy Meisner, our Oakland County treasurer, but quite a range. But the only common denominator is that they got something interesting and worthwhile to say.
Well, Bill, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for talking about your illustrious career in publishing as well as your show on Independence Television.
Great to be with you. Good for you for doing what you're doing.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Bill. Again, you can watch his show Conversations with Bill and find more information by visiting independencetelevision.com. That is independencetelevision.com, and you can also find it in Clarkston on Comcast Channel 10 for the community content, and Channel 22 for the education, Channel 20 for government, as well as on AT&T Channel 99 in their community education and government channels guide by just looking up the Clarkston community, where you'll be able to find Independence Television over there and watch Conversations with Bill. And you can also find it on their YouTube page. Just search Independence Television Clarkston on YouTube. They'll bring you to their YouTube page where you can search for Conversations with Bill to see his conversations from Bill Haney, the book guy, with many people here prominent in Oakland County and throughout the state of Michigan with interesting stories to tell. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, another guy that's talking to a lot of interesting people with great stories to tell over in Waterford is Jeff Decker, who is the host of the media network of Waterford's In Town with Jeff Decker. He'll join me next. Here you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes. They stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe
and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. You can learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where we have links to each and every one of our partnering radio, web, and television outlets joining us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on the Megacast, which includes outlets such as the Media Network of Waterford, which you can find on Channel 10 out in Waterford, and someone you'll see pretty often over there on the Media Network outside of our regular broadcast time is Jeff Decker, who has been a volunteer at the Media Network of Waterford since 1990 as a Specs Howard graduate as well. And the voice of the Media Network announces their high school games, Waterford parades, events, and also hosts In Town with Jeff Decker. And he's with us now on the Megacast. Before we get to Jeff, we're going to show a quick clip from In Town with Jeff Decker so you can get a little idea about what goes on his show before we talk to him. All about all things the Media Network of Waterford. Let's take a look.
They're making at different times. Going along with that, Edible Wow, which is a magazine that's produced in the area that has to do with local chefs, does a program right here at Oakland County Farmers Market that you can head over to. And they do that on Saturdays. Check it out online. Starts at 10 a.m. But these now 6 chefs, I'm saying, yep, 6 different chefs, there you go, are coming in, and at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, here in February, starting right through to April. Call and check it out. But the thing is, with our farmers market, every weekend they have happenings and things going on. It's a great little marketplace. It supports a lot of locals, and I'm all for it 100%. But you get to check out these chefs, what they make. They give you basic recipes, how to, and I mean, these chefs are everything from nursing home chefs to Baker's College, new and upcoming. So that's kind of a cool gig. The Waterford Chamber has their annual awards dinner coming up at Fountains on Thursday. They are still Thursdays, right? With January 20, 5:30 to 10, $50 a person, $3.80 a table. Need a reservation with Waterford Chamber. It's the awards dinner and all kinds of fun stuff over at Fountains. That could be a lot of fun. When it comes to the chamber and things that they keep offering and what's going on along with Media Network, we're doing our best to join in with everyone in the area and make a bit more of an informational out of this channel. It's not something that's used enough, and here it's a source for you, for us, to get information out of not just our area, but it sure does help when it comes to narrowing down that curve and what's going on. So make sure to stay tuned to Channel 10, what is it, TV? Why would I do that? WTV10.org. Brain misfunction. But it's, see, I'm used to
that from In Town with Jeff Decker, which you can find on the Media Network of Waterford, as well as online on demand at medianetworkofwaterford.org. Let's bring in Jeff Decker, the host of In Town with Jeff Decker, and a longtime volunteer over at the Media Network, as well as the vice chair of its board of directors. Jeff, thank you for being with us today.
Tyler, thanks so much. Appreciate this blast out on what is hopefully going to be a huge scenario with the Megacast. You've been doing a fabulous job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And you do a fabulous job as well over there on the In Town with Jeff Decker. How long have you been doing the show? And of course, we got a little taste of the program, but tell us a little bit about In Town as well.
I got to hear all my great stumbles and bumbles. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I love hearing mine back too.
An edit tape of all my outtakes. Actually, I was thinking about this, and I know, hopefully I don't look it too terribly, but I started coming into this building in 1973 doing radio broadcasts, which is Waterford Mott High School. And from that point on, I was doing radio broadcasts. It wasn't until I left to LA and came back that I found out about public access and what was going on, and started, wow, what we could do here and what's available is just fabulous. With the partnership that we have with Comcast and the availability in the studio, my mind just blew up as to what all could be done. We did try a version of this many years ago, and it was called OC4, Oakland County 4. And we tried to a conglomerate of a lot of the different access channels. And, but yeah, since 1988, when I first came back from LA, I got hooked, and it's The Voice. I mean, it's obvious they wanted me for radio, but, you know, it just carried over.
We're joined by Jeff Decker from the Media Network of Waterford, joining us on the Megacast. You can find him on In Town with Jeff Decker over there on Channel 10 in Waterford, as well as on their website at medianetworkofwaterford.org. And so you're also the vice chair of the Media Network of Waterford's board of directors. What are some of your duties there as a member of the board and kind of overseeing the operations of Media Network there in Waterford?
Well, it's been very important over this COVID period that people recognize and know that the station and all of the different conglomerates that are what is public access are available still for people to do their own local shows and programming, informationals, try and keep everybody up on the local aspect of news. As you well know, I mean, you're doing Oakland County as a general, and we narrow it down right here at Media Network to basically the Waterford area. We touch on, of course, national issues, and I do most all the broadcasting for parades and, like you said, the different games and aspects, political interviews, mostly surrounding Waterford. As a member of the board, we're trying to promote that more and more and do more and more. The technology has gotten, oh my goodness, you and I being able to do this live right now, who would have thought?
Yeah, it's really interesting. A few years ago, we had someone that had used to work for our team over here at Civic Center TV, which is where we originate this broadcast here in the greater West Bloomfield community, who had moved on to another job and had been away from us for a couple of years, and we were considering, my boss had suggested at the time that we have her join us on our local news magazine show virtually from this location, because she wouldn't have been able to realistically come into our studio, being that she was out of the country. And at that point in time, I found that to be the most insane idea possible and had no idea how technologically in our studio we'd be able to pull that off, or if that was even possible for a little station like ours here at Civic Center TV or other government and educational television channels, public television channels like ours could do. And now it's the way of our world, and it is quite seamless. So it's really interesting how quickly, especially today with the advances in our technology, that broadcast can change. We're joined by Jeff Decker, who is the host of In Town with Jeff Decker and also the vice chair of the Media Network of Waterford's board of directors over there in Waterford. And I've watched some of the videos from the Media Network, and I've watched some of the videos from your show as well, but there's another really interesting initiative over there called the Broadcasters Band, where you've made some music videos over there as well. Can you tell us about the band, and how did that come to be a thing over there in Waterford?
Well, for years, I've been a musician since high school days and playing. And on a fluke, I was moving from one location to the family house after my father had passed. And I'm moving a second set of drums. And I knew that Josh Bowron, who runs the station here, had hit keyboard out for the longest period of time. Whitney Hunt, who's my producer of In Town and what have you, she said she played bass. Well, you've got drums, keyboard, bass. On my way to drop off my drums at my house, I went, you know what? I'm going to take them to the studio. Brought those into the studio, and they went, oh, no, you were serious. And now 3.5, 4 years ago, we sat down, there you go, and started pounding on instruments. Denise, who's on the far of the screen there, she saw me setting up the drums, and she went, oh, I've always wanted to play drums. And I went, here, hand her those sticks. Being that all the years that I played, I was both lead singer and drummer, and hiding behind a set of drums was often funny to go out into a crowd and people would go, man, the band's really good. I just don't know who the singer is. And I'm standing there going, it's me. So finally to get out in front was fun. Josh on keyboards there. You see me in the middle. Kurt, who is another Media Network volunteer and had been shooting. He came into the studio one day and went, what's all this music equipment? What are you guys doing? And he happens to be a very good guitar player. So we added Kurt and Whitney on the close side here next to me, playing bass fabulously. It became a thing for the area. And then for the local, we have parades, and the Hess Hathaway has summer park events, and we've been playing at that. So it's a lot of fun. It's basically classic rock and what we have fun with, but yeah, I'm even in the Media Network Band. I wanted to call it the Network Band, and Denise looked it up, and I guess there's somebody else with the Network Band who became the Broadcasters.
You can find more information on the Broadcasters Band and watch their music videos and their performances by visiting medianetworkofwaterford.org and clicking on the link for the Broadcasters Band. Our producer over here, the king of television himself, Larry Nyland, was jamming out to some of the Christmas songs that the Broadcasters Band performed when he was listening to them, and we were reviewing some of the videos from the Media Network last week. We're joined by Jeff Decker, who is from the Media Network of Waterford and is the host of In Town with Jeff Decker over there as well. And of course, you mentioned volunteers, among which one is involved in the Broadcasters Band. There are a lot of great opportunities at community television stations throughout Oakland County, throughout the state of Michigan. For those that may be interested, and those over there, particularly in Waterford, what are some of those volunteer opportunities or other opportunities that are available to them at the Media Network, and how can they get involved if they would like to join the team over there?
Well, thanks, Tyler. Yeah, a big thing, in fact, like I said, when I came back I was in Los Angeles and came back, and my mom had actually highlighted her Comcast bill. At the base of the bill, it said, Waterford has its own public access channel. Come in and learn for free camera work, lighting, produce your own shows. The light bulb went on above my head, which rarely is on or dim anyways, but I said, what the heck? So I came over and spoke with who was the original leader of Media Network, Bob Montgomery. Josh was just an assistant playback guy that was here and now, of course, head of the station. But Bob said, come on in, and would you talk to our current volunteers and pump them up as to what the real world's like out in Los Angeles when it comes to doing production. And it just rolled from there. I mean, I remember watching Public Access when I first came back, and I honestly, and if there's some out there, and Dave Zorn and some of the ones that have been part of this forever will remember, there was an actual model train show where the gentleman sat there with a very small Lionel little train, had a conductor's hat on, and the train just went around this small track. And that was a public access television show. I thought, maybe we could do something more. We've done everything from soap opera, live. I know that back in the day, we even did the Jerry Lewis telethon. We've had all kinds of great things, and I want people to know that this is here. This facility is here for free to our Waterford residents. I'm sure you have a program where you're at. All the different channels have something. I know that the Orient channel and they all have availability for people to come in and do a production, whether you want to learn lighting, sound, camera. Everybody thinks this part that Tyler, you and I are doing in front of the cameras, heck, I could do that all day long. Those guys just read cards or whatever. But on a fluke, I do some crazy voices, right? So I entered a contest and won a full ride at Specs Howard a few years back. And it's funny how all the things that cost so much money to learn at Specs Howard, you can learn right here, and it's free to the residents. So put on your creative caps, do short films. I always suggest doing shorts because people come in and want to make the next Gone with the Wind, and you get a quarter of the way in and you're spinning your wheels and you just get tired and nothing comes of it. But if you do a short film and get a little taste of it, this offers the world to you. It really has all that ability.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us, telling us more about the Media Network and, of course, about In Town with Jeff Decker.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You can learn more information again and view all their programs from In Town with Jeff Decker, the Broadcasters Band, and more of their other videos and programs as well by visiting medianetworkofwaterford.org or going to civiccentertv.com/megacast and clicking on our link for the Media Network of Waterford. We're going to take one final break. On the other side, our apologies for being a little bit behind. We'll be joined by Rochelle Vartanian, the Executive Director of founding and founder of Living and Learning Enrichment Center, a Share Detroit sponsored charity and nonprofit. That's coming up next. You're watching the Megacast.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can learn more about our show by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information about everywhere that we broadcast and find all of our full interviews and each episode of the show on demand there as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Well, over the past several months, we've talked to a number of different charities and nonprofits sponsored by Share Detroit, where you can learn more information on sharedetroit.org. And that includes now one of these organizations, the Living and Learning Enrichment Center, whose executive director and founder, Rochelle Vertanian, joins us now on the Megacast. Rochelle, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about your organization and its mission and some of the work that it does in our community.
Okay, so the name of my organization is Living and Learning Enrichment Center, and we work with teens and adults and seniors who have special needs. When we first opened in 2015, we were really focused on autism, people that were older and had autism, and it's just organically has gone in the direction that we work with everyone now. And so it's 13 and older. We have classes for senior citizens that have special needs. We have summer camps. We have vocational programs. We do job skills. We currently have 9 people on our payroll that has special needs. And our goal is to help people live as independently as possible.
And a lot of these opportunities, particularly on the educational side, especially today with the challenges that are inherent in education because of our modern society, of course, because of the crisis that we continue to be in with COVID-19. How much more, especially over the last roughly 2 years or so that we've been dealing with COVID-19, how much more important have these opportunities and these programs in particular been to those with special needs in our community to continue their education, to broaden their education, and to provide those critical opportunities, especially for those that are going out into the workforce and are going out into their independence?
Yeah, very, very important. I don't want to stereotype and say, all people with autism like to be alone, but I mean, I do see that a lot, that they want their, need some private time. So giving them, for the last 2 years of, isolation, and I mean, it is really fed into this. And I hear from a lot of parents that, I can't get them out of the house now, so, it's really affected a lot of them. We've had one of our clients passed away from COVID. When we first, was it 2020, we did summer camp and no one was doing summer camp. We knew we had to. So we, checked temperatures every day and, wearing the mask and, everything else, put every precaution there was in there. And we kept it outside just to give them some normalcy in their life. What tends to happen with people with special needs is that when they're done with high school, it's like they've fallen off a cliff and there's nothing out there for them. And that's where we really focused on this. So the other thing we did is the day it was mandated that everyone had to stay home, we went virtual the next day. And a lot of organizations didn't do that. And it wasn't perfect. I mean, socializing virtually, it's not perfect, but it was something for them. And now the numbers are going up again, but a couple of months ago, we were at our highest capacity because people really need this.
We're joined by Rochelle Vartanian, the founder and executive director of the Living and Learning Enrichment Center, joining us on the Megacast. And of course, you founded the organization in 2015. We talked about its goals and its mission, some of the programs that are featured in it. What was your inspiration behind finding this organization in particular?
Okay, well, in another life, I was a special ed teacher for 20 years. I worked with young adults who had severe behavioral issues. So right out of college, I worked at a lockup center, and that was, for whatever crazy reason, my passion. I was in it. And I went back and got a master's in ed psych. I really wanted to understand why my students were making the choices they made, and just trying to understand that, the whole psychology behind it. But what ended up happening is, after the 10 years I worked at the lockup, I then transferred to North Farmington High School, and I still worked with the same population. They weren't in jail, these young adults, but the gangs, they were in and out of hospitals, runaways. It was the cream of the crop. I mean, it was the most severe behaviors. And if they couldn't make it there, they would go to a day treatment. And that first year I was there, my youngest son, Anthony, was diagnosed with what they then called Asperger's syndrome. Now everything's autism. But at the time, I was a special ed teacher. I'd been doing this for, at that time, about 15 years, and I'd never heard the word Asperger's. And once I started delving into it, to be totally honest, I went into a deep depression. And I want to be clear on this. It wasn't because, oh my God, my son has autism. It was because I knew what his future was. I knew how difficult this was going to be. I knew that when my parents' children got done with school, there was nothing out there, and they were living in their parents' basement playing video games. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, this is his future. The other thing that kept happening, which, I look back and I wonder if it was like, God had a role in this. They didn't know what to do with their students that had Asperger's, so they were putting them in my classroom, and it was so inappropriate. You've got kids that have severe behavioral issues. They're in there for a reason, and then you're putting people with Asperger's in that classroom, and my people are walking targets to be bullied, and now you've got them in the classroom with bullies. So that kind of triggered my depression too, thinking, oh my God, he's never going to make it. And everything I looked into, I couldn't find anything. I mean, I could find services for him that were about an hour away, very expensive. Health insurance didn't cover any of it, but it only went up to like 18. There was like nothing after they get done. And I started, I did what every parent did. I researched it as much as I could, found any service I could, and drove him to it. Several days a week we went to therapy and anything I could find. And there was one time I actually took a loan out to pay for his services. But, it was so expensive. And any parent that has a child with special needs, and I'm going to say especially autism, you were just like looking for that one thing. I would have did seances around him if they said that this is what's going to help him. I mean, there's a lot more information up now, but at the time there was very little. And what I decided to do was I picked myself up, and I thought, I was going through a divorce that year as well. And I thought, oh my God, if if I die, this kid's going to be homeless. And that is what every parent that has a special needs child thinks about. What is going to happen when I die? And I made the decision to go back to college and get a second master's in autism so I could advocate for him and understand it. So I'm working full time. I've got these boys and I'm plucking away at these classes. And it took me a few years, but I finished it. And then when I got done, I decided I was going to run social skill groups in a library. So every Sunday I rented out the Farmington Public Library and I had social skill groups. And what that basically is, right around second grade, third grade, our people, most of our people that will be listening to this, if they have a child with special needs, especially autism, people start moving away from them. They're a little bit quirky, and your next door neighbor that you grew up with, all of a sudden, he's growing out of the same things that person is going through. So they tend to, move on, and our kids get isolated. And, and the other part about it is, which really kills me, is that they're aware enough to know that I'm not getting invited to parties or dates or anything, yet my older brother is, or my next door neighbor's doing these things. And they're in that in and of itself is so destructive, it just feels horrible. And so these social skill groups was to help them make friends, but it was also to help them, with their little idiosyncrasies. Like a lot of them are very, again, I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of them have a few different characteristics that, that all of them have, like sarcasm. A lot of them, and I'm going to speak about my son, so that I'm not going to violate any HIPAA. My son has a really hard time. He's very high functioning. If you looked at him, he presents well, you would not know. You might talk to him for a little bit and then go, something's a little different here. But, doesn't understand sarcasm, innuendos. So I really worked with that with them. Greeting, eye contact, reciprocity in conversation, that back and forth conversation. A lot of them are fabulous with talking and telling everyone about themselves, but they don't know how to, that natural thing of asking questions and knowing that, okay, the person's looking at their watch, it's time to wrap this up. They don't see things like that, and it gets them in trouble a lot. So I did that for about 2 years, and I didn't charge families. I did it for free, and it kept growing. And I thought at the end of that 2 years, I thought I can just keep doing what I'm doing. And, things are going smooth right now, but when he turns 18, I'm going to be in the same position as all of my family. So I took a huge leap of faith and I quit my job. I was up top of my pay scale. I had health insurance, and I don't have money. And so what I decided to do was sell my home. My ex-husband and I had built this beautiful home. My boys and I had lived there. I'd lived there for 22 years. And it was the only thing I could think of to raise money to do this. So I sold my home and I moved us into a very humble home. And I say this now, but at the time I didn't tell anyone this. About 2 years after we moved out, they bulldozed it down. That's how bad this was. And, and I had so much guilt that I moved my kids out of their home, but I just kept thinking, I can't, there's no other way I can do this. I've got to just risk it all. And thank God it worked. But what I did is I opened up I found a little storefront in downtown Northville, and I had all this beautiful furniture for my house. And so I decorated it beautifully, and I started with one program. And we still have it, still one of our biggest programs. I called it Friday Night Hangout. I wanted a place where these young adults that were more independent had somewhere on Friday night they could go, and they looked forward to it. I didn't want it to be in a church basement or a YMCA. I wanted it to be really cool and hip. And, we order pizza and play games and we dance, and I would embed the social skills in there. What I knew was that every time I did take my son to a program, there was no one in these programs other than people that have special needs. And I kept looking at this thinking, there needs to be people in these groups for them to model what's appropriate. Or, if I say to my son, hey, you need to comb your hair, he'll roll his eyes. But if a peer says it, he'll go do it. It's a lot more powerful. So I made sure to get as many peers as I could that were their age to volunteer to just be friends with them in this program. And then the second thing was, my son, when we would go into therapy or anything, he could master whatever they were doing, whatever the skill was they're teaching, but he couldn't do it anywhere else. And I think that's that autism, very literal, okay, I learned it here, I do it here. So the other thing I did, and going back on that a little bit, I mean, I remember saying to, the therapist, everything, we wouldn't really do it at other places. And, they didn't have the answer, which, I know it was very new then. But I couldn't live that way. Like, we've got to try some things. So I would teach a skill, maybe it was greeting, and then we'd walk around downtown Northville to the little coffee stores or grocery stores or restaurants or bookstores, and we would practice that skill in several different places so that they could learn to generalize it, to do that skill everywhere. And it grew. I then started a Saturday night hangout, and then I added cooking classes and music classes. And a lot of our people have really unique interests. So I tried to incorporate clubs around that, because I thought, okay, if other people come to this club, then they have that common interest. So that will help. So, I mean, we have bird watching. Now we have over 30 clubs. We have bird watching and Comic-Con clubs and gamers clubs and Dungeons and Dragons and theater clubs and cooking and summer camps and dance classes. We have so many classes. But what I kept looking at, because my goal the entire time was, and I didn't know how to get there. It was like, okay, you're just doing this. But my goal was helping these people live the most meaningful life and as independent as they possibly can be. And so, I'm trying to navigate this, and I then started looking at all of them, and none of them were working. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to work on the job piece, because that will help us with the living. Mm-hmm. And I had no money to pay anyone. So it was me. And on Friday nights, my husband would help me. I remarried. My husband would help me. And I would be doing job skills with them and coaching and taking them, showing interview skills and everything. So we started that. And since then, we've employed over 50 people in the community that have paychecks. Wow. And then we've also got a vocational program for, when they say it's a spectrum, it's true. I mean, you've got people that have master's degrees that have autism, and their problems are different from other people who have autism, but it's a problem and they need help with it. And then you've got your people that are, I always say, like, certificate of completion. Like, these are your people that didn't get a diploma. They went to school till they were 26 and got a certificate of completion. So they're always going to need a little bit more support. So we started a vocational program that is just skyrocketed. We've got, I think, over 50 people in this class now, and we've partnered with over 60 different local businesses. So every morning, all these young adults come to our center, and then it's one direct care worker and 3 clients, and they go to different job sites, and then they come back for lunch, and in the afternoon they go to a different job site. And a lot of the other thing with this population is that, and I understand this, their parents have got them on Social Security, and completely understand why. And so they don't want them to get a paycheck because it'll interrupt that. So we've kind of solved that problem by, okay, they're learning job skills, but we're not, they won't get paid. A couple have like loved, I got this one client that, one of our community businesses is Meadowbrook golf course and country club. And she got hired there and she loves it. So she is getting a paycheck, but in that population, that's few and far between. And then I've got my population that need the most support. And they're about 5% of the whole special needs population. They're the people that, are nonverbal, that need assistance, walking, going to the bathroom, need a one-on-one support. And we've created 2 programs for them, but we currently are transforming one of our buildings on our property into a place that's accessible for them. And so they'll have their own vocational program. So, and then since then, we've had a lot of God moments. I mean, and that's all I can say. It had to be God, because I have no money and I didn't even get a paycheck till last year. But we outgrew our old facility. We moved into a historic house, a beautiful house in downtown Northville, and we started doing programs there. And it was like the world all of a sudden took us seriously. And within 4 months, we outgrew that. All of a sudden, people were coming from downriver and Ypsilanti and Troy, and because some of the programs we have, no one has them. And I know this because I looked for these programs, and if they were out there, I would never have did this. It was because there was nothing out there. So within 4 months, like I said, we were in the same situation, and we were in a meeting. Yes.
I apologize. I have to cut you off. We're just a little ways above our time here, so I do have to wrap up the show. I do apologize, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. It's all good information. I just want to make sure that we didn't go too far over. So I appreciate your time, and I want to make sure that I give people the information. If they want to learn more about the Living and Learning Enrichment Center, they can visit livingandlearningcenter.org. Rochelle, thank you very much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
Appreciate it. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. We will now be joining Steve Lato live on My Michigan TV and across the rest of our network. We'll be back here tomorrow morning live at 10 a.m.